Okay. One other way to use technology to help us do this is to use statistics on, let's say, Google Sheets or any type of spreadsheet. Most of the spreadsheet uses all the same type of formulas, so that it all works basically the same way. So the first thing you would do is you'd go to your Google Drive and you'd create a new spreadsheet or new Google Sheet, and then in your first column you would type in the numbers that we had. So our numbers were the 400, 300, 325, 275, 425, 375, and 350 from our example problem. So now what I do then is I put in this neat little column right here. Oh, I'm not set up here, right? There we go. I put in this column right here where I type in all of the information that I need. I have to have the mean, the mode, the median, the highest number, the lowest number, or max and min numbers, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, the range, the interquartile range, the outliers, values, variance, and standard deviation. So I type all those in, just those words. Now, what I do is I input formulas. So when I go to do the mean, I put in the formula equals average, the word average. I hit the equal sign and then the word average. And then I put in a colon or a parenthesis, and then I highlight where I had it. Since I was going to use this sheet for more things, I just put A:A for that, so I wanted to do the entire column A there. So it doesn't matter how many numbers I have. When I do mode, I just put in the same thing, equals mode A:A. When I do median, I do the same thing, equals median A:'A. I want the whole thing there. When I want to do the highest number, I'm looking for the max. So I have it say equal max A:'A. When I'm looking for the lowest number, I'm looking for the min, so equals min. Okay, so now when I get to the quartiles, they have a funky formula. And it's equal quartile, parenthesis, you have to have your range, okay, there's where my A:'A is going to go, comma, quartile number. Well, now if I'm doing the lower quartile number, I'm going to do a 1. So if I want the lower one, I'm going to do a 1. And then I repeat that, same thing for the upper, but I use a 3 for the formula. Okay, so that got all those. Now to find range, I just have to take the min number minus the max number. What I do is I actually have the formula in here. So it says equals, well, what was my highest number, minus what's my lowest number, and I click on those cells. Okay, interquartile range, I do the same thing for the upper Q and lower Q. Okay, now, I can use Excel to calculate my interquartile range. So I have it take, what I call the outlier high, any number above this. So I'm going to take 1.5 and I'm going to multiply it to the interquartile range. So and what I type in here is I say equals 1.5 times, and then I click on what should I say? I click on the cell where the interquartile range is, and then I say plus, and I click on the cell where the upper quartile is, and it gives me where that upper range is. Anything above that would be an outlier. And then I do the same thing for the lower Q, but I say equals, and I click on where the lower Q number range is, minus 1.5 times, again, I click on the cell for the IQR. Okay, so now I got all those done. So let me go ahead and move this down. So when I do that, I end up with all that information. Looks a lot like what we had on the calculators, if I do it on the calculators, except for possibly, say, like the lower quartile and upper quartile, they might have been different. Yeah, the upper quartile and the lower quartile were a little different because on the spreadsheet, it eliminates the median when it says its calculations, or it doesn't. It includes the median. So that adds another value in there, which kind of messes things up. Or does it take it out? It adds a value. It adds a value. Okay, so be aware of that. So that can kind of change a little bit there. Range, it all works out. Okay, so now to do variance, the first thing I do is I know I have to find the difference from the mean to every one of these values. So the first thing I do is I create a separate column for it over here on the side, and all I put in there is equaled $D $1, because that's where the mean is, and I put the dollar signs in there because I want it to do that, and then I say minus, and then I click on the A2, and that's what I did right here in this first cell. So right here, I did it. I put, sorry, not there. Right here, I put this formula. Okay, then all I did is I got onto the corner of it and I dragged it down until I covered the entire 8 spots. So that's a way to get that value. So now if I'm looking for variance, what I want to do then is I want to square each one of those values. So I just, over here, I just use this little formula. Whoops. What did I just do? There we go. Just move the whole thing. I just used the formula, whatever the cell is beside, so in this first cell here, in this cell here, I said equals this cell, caret 2, and then I drag that formula down. Now, all I got to do over here is, then, I just take the average of that column of values. And when I do that, it gives me 2,500. So now to calculate the standard deviation, all I got to do is square root that number, and I put in SQRT, and I clicked right on that cell for the D12. And that got me the standard deviation. Now for the mean deviation, since I already had this column done, all I did was then run the absolute value on it. So in this first cell, I put in equals ABS parenthesis, and then I just clicked on the H2. And I closed my parenthesis and entered, drag the formula down. Well, what am I going to do over here? I'm just going to calculate the average of that column. And when I do that, I get 42.8575. Okay, so here we got this. Now, there is an alternate way to do standard deviation and variance, in that I can have the program itself calculate standard deviation. So now when I do that, I have to do this first. I do standard deviation first. Okay, now notice I have the formula STDEVP A colon A. Okay, there's many different standard deviations in this program. If you use the P, it takes this list, that's the entire list of values. So make sure you do that. So that's our standard deviation. And then all I do is, for the variance, I just say square the standard deviation. Okay, so I can also do it on a spreadsheet. Now, here's the thing I wanted to point out to you. Doing it on the spreadsheet's quick and easy. You can type in the numbers. All these formulas can already be done. You won't even have to change them, except for maybe the mean value. You're going to have to extend that column out further. And here, where you do the calculation of the averages, you're going to want to, here we go. When you do these average calculations, you're going to want to highlight the column for all the numbers that you have, not just all the numbers. Okay, so that's the advantage of the Excel program, or the spreadsheet. Disadvantage is you cannot use this on the ACT, or the SAT, or the ITBS, or, Iowa Assessment Test. You can't use it for any of those standard testing. You can use it for, like, this class and for these assignments. You can't use it for those. So it might work better for you to use one of the other methods. They're more useful in that regards to other testing. Okay, there you go. Another way to do it.